Hello there, lovely good evening and welcome to Camnet TV main news, broadcasting you live on Topstar channel 106, Facebook, YouTube and Kenstream app, streaming as Camnet TV. Let's now take a look at the headlines. KITWE man arrested for defacing newly introduced 5 kwacha coin. Socialist Party accuses President HICHILEMA of shielding high-level officials amid U.S. aid withdrawal. Government suspends operations at KAFUE water station over suspected pollution. And international news, ICC struggles to function as U.S. sanctions disrupt prosecutors' work and undermine global justice. In sports, veteran striker James CHAMANGA set for final bow with red arrows. Join us for these and many more stories after this break.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet television, not just another channel.
To present Camnet TV main news in detail, I'm Tapelo Joe Smata. Residents of Lusaka have welcomed government's decision to prohibit the withdrawal of defilement cases once they are reported to the police, describing the move as timely and necessary to protect vulnerable girls in communities. This follows a recent announcement by Minister of Home Affairs and Social Security, Jack Bimbo, who reaffirmed that defilement is a non-negotiable offense and should be treated with the seriousness it deserves. The minister emphasized that girls aged 15 and above remain particularly vulnerable, and as such, the law must offer them maximum protection. Finley Mwale, a resident of Garden Compound, held the decision and called on parents and guardians to be more proactive in monitoring the welfare of their children. Amon Musonda Yumba, another resident, commended the government for prioritizing the safety of the girl child, stressing that she remains at risk in many communities. He said holding perpetrators accountable without compromise is the right step forward. Our reporter, Macy Matendeko, now reports.
Zambia has previously been a victim of increased defilement cases, a situation which alarmed communities across the country, with stakeholders denouncing the vice. Last month, a number of cases were recorded in the country where children, including babies, were raped and defiled by either strangers or, sadly, their biological fathers. This development disheartened many citizens and stakeholders, with some taking to the streets advocating for the induced castration of perpetrators.
Violence, specifically defilement and rape, should be subjected to surgical castration as a proportionate response to their cruelty. Number 16, the development of a policy to safeguard women and children from sexual exploitation and abuse by service providers, both in public and private spheres. Number 17, and the last one, the amendment of the Criminal Procedure Code Cap 88 to eliminate the provision of bail and bond.
And what was more disheartening was that some wives would request their husbands found to be defiling their biological children or child to be released from prison before answering to the law. Government has, however, directed that defilement cases will henceforth not be withdrawn after being reported to the police. This development has elated residents in Lusaka who have commended government for taking this bold step. In an interview with Camnet News, one of the residents, Fanny Mwale, of Garden Compound has welcomed the move, adding that parents must closely monitor girl children in their homes for their safety.
Government tifomekeza kuti vanthu akagwiriwa zona azimangiwa samachoka but afunika kuyangana tili ni vana bwanja amene achitiwa rape case noti kapera na 17 16 15 apo akambatia rape case iyayi vanthu vena angwadirapo chabe ndalama zapeza nzoenda nayo jamnyamata mushemushe akanga kumupasa ndalama abo wendo lembesa ku police ati defilement so iyo eve boma iyangani pa maiji ya vana noti chabe kugwira chigwiregwire no.
Another resident, Amon Msondayumba, appealed to the government to effect strict deterrent measures such as prolonged detention or arrest of offenders.
Government ingatete Stephen punishment maybe up to 50 or life imprisonment. Reason why is maybe bakata Stephen punishment bantu bangazio pako. Because a girl child is always vulnerable. My one, my of Kambo Batta so food. Nishi civil emotion. My one, Mukazi are very important in life. My Kambo Mianongela life, Yakari Mungono, Nishwaza in Dago. Hello, when you look around Muntanya, Kamwana Kapasa Mimba, Bakapasa Matenda, Nishi life by Ononga, near Wamema Pezaka Majama Combo, Kumwache Machuku, Machan, meaning life Yaka Yose at Tabaji, Yaononga.
And Blessing Zimba of Lusaka's Kalingalinga compound added that the perpetrators must be punished accordingly. She highlighted the trauma that the victims have to live with after such an act and that this could hinder their potential growth.
Munga pali ngani ya defilement. Wakazimangiwa chabe life jail. Cause there's no way muntu wa size yako mauri alifuru. Wenda kulika baby ka mwana kangono. Mwana mwana kupasa appetite. So munga cheni ngakambi. Baba mange not kubaleka. Cause siwazambo ziwa chewa chita njoipa. Bazando osha. But wazando panga futi mlandu winangu wao nonga wana wangono. So cheni ngapembe kuboma tandizile na abantu wamangiwe. Cause nongo mkazi wasiya kulibeva wane vizambo chitika. Vana wano nga ma future vana kusogo jamwana nga for example alina 5 years. Azambo nga disturbed. Ndiye pa jamvela tino kamwana kaskamvela. Kulingana vindu vamna mchita kuli wakulu. So cheni ngapembe kujabi. Bakazimangiwa not kuwalekelera.
For Camnet News, Mercy Matendeko.
From Lusaka's Garden Compound, we now go to Southern Province, where a 72-year-old man of Southern Province has been arrested for cultivating 1.4 tons of cannabis in one of the largest drug-related bursts recorded in the region this year. The suspect, identified as Saison Smwemba, was apprehended by the Drug Enforcement Commission, DEC, in Choma District during a coordinated operation carried out between April 4th and May 5th, 2025. DEC Public Relations Officer Alan Tamba says Mr. Smwemba was also found in possession of 3 bags of loose cannabis weighing a total of 86.3 kilograms. Meanwhile, DEC officers in Zambezi District of Northwestern Province have arrested 47-year-old Teddy Chwaya, who was found with 54 kilograms of dry cannabis, 30 kilograms of cultivated cannabis plants, and 1 kilogram of cannabis seeds. Now, DEC Public Relations Officer Alan Tamba says Mr. Smwemba was also found in possession of 3 bags of loose cannabis weighing a total of 86.3 kilograms.
Through meticulously coordinated operations conducted from 4th April 2025 to 5th May 2025, the Drug Enforcement Commission arrested 3 Zimbabwean nationals and several Zambians in connection with drug-related offenses. Notable among the arrested persons include the following. In Choma District in the Southern Province, the DEC arrested Saison Smwemba, male age 72. The arrest was in connection with the offense of cultivation of cannabis plants with a total weight of 1.4 tons and trafficking in 3 bags of loose cannabis with a combined weight of 86.3 kilograms. Meanwhile, in the Northwestern Province, DEC officers arrested Teddy Chiwaya, a 47-year-old male resident of Wisdom Compound in Zambezi district. The suspect was found in possession of 54 kilograms of dry loose cannabis, 1 kilogram of cannabis seeds, and 30 kilograms worth of cannabis plants under cultivation. On the other hand, during a joint operation conducted by officers from Chirundu and Lusaka districts, the commission arrested a 27-year-old male suspect identified as Joe Mabenga. The arrest was in connection with the offense of trafficking in 8 pre-packs of compressed cannabis with a total weight of 18.6 kilograms. In another joint operation commenced by officers from Chirundu district and concluded by officers in Lusaka district, the commission arrested a Zimbabwean national identified as Precious Sunda, female age 29. The suspect was traveling from South Africa to Zambia and was apprehended at the intercity bus terminus in Lusaka. She was found in possession of 11 pre-packs of cannabis weighing 10.2 kilograms. In a separate but similar operation, the DEC apprehended 2 Zimbabwean nationals identified as Tawananyasha Makore, male age 20, and Tadiwanashe Mugwagwa, male age 19. Both being students at a named higher institution of learning in Zambia. The suspects were arrested after they attempted to collect a parcel from a named bus where the said parcel was disguised as having contained groceries when in fact it was found to contain 1.7 kilograms of loose cannabis. The incident highlights the increasing and deceptive tactics being employed by traffickers, including the use of unsuspecting public transportation services.
In political news, the opposition Socialist Party has accused Republican President Hakainde Hichilema of protecting high-level officials implicated in corruption within the country's healthcare system. The criticism follows the United States Embassy's announcement that it has withdrawn $50 million worth of medical supplies and medication support to Zambia, citing the government's inadequate response to systemic theft and mismanagement in the health sector. Speaking during a press briefing in Lusaka, Socialist Party President Fred Membe said the U.S. decision was not merely diplomatic but a moral indictment of Zambia's leadership. He described the move as a reflection of deep-rooted corruption and government indifference, warning that the real victims would be ordinary Zambians who rely on public health facilities for life-saving medication. Dr. Membe further alleged that President Hichilema's administration has consistently failed to hold senior government officials accountable, often sacrificing low-level civil servants when scandals surface. The Socialist Party leader further called for a radical shift in the country's health financing model.
The lamentation by the U.S. ambassador that there are half-hearted arrests of low-level individuals is very sad, but not surprising, considering the sick habit of this government in shielding senior officials from prosecution. Moyo wa muntu waba mukutwi. The life of a person is in the ear. One who is willing to listen avoids a lot of trouble and perhaps an untimely death. Chula chitomfwa apulikila umulemba mukutwi. The frog who did not listen burst his eardrum. The unheeding person comes to grief. Ichikutirwe tachumfwendi. An idiot does not hear the warning bell. A senseless person does not heed good advice. But beyond the immediate crisis, we must confront a deeper truth. Zambia cannot continue to rely on foreign aid to run its health system. This dependence is not development. It is disempowerment. It has turned our country into a nation begging for band-aids, while our leaders squander resources on luxury SUVs, foreign travel, and empty rhetoric. This country has invested a lot in the operational systems for pharmaceuticals. This is one of the countries that has taught other countries how to get it done. How do you come up with your essential drugs list that is supposed to respond to your disease burden? How do you do procurement that is more focused, that's more effective? How do you get those drugs tested for efficacy? How do you store those drugs? How do you distribute those drugs? And how do you monitor? How do you get the feedback in terms of how those drugs are being dispensed?
Leadership will have an improved well-being and lifespan. When your health works very well, your health system works very well, you are forming an enabling environment for several other activities to take place. A functioning health system is very much complementary to education. Imagine your child at home is sick.
Meanwhile, the Non-Governmental Gender Organizations Coordinating Council, NGOCC, is demanding an explanation from the government on how it intends to bridge the critical funding gap following the withdrawal of approximately 1.4 billion kwacha in medical aid by the United States. The U.S. Embassy announced a suspension, citing large-scale theft of medicines and what it described as the Zambian government's failure to effectively combat corruption in the health sector. NGOCC Executive Director Ann Mbewe Namela says the aid cut will severely affect access to HIV and TB treatment, especially for women who already face higher HIV prevalence and bear the brunt of caregiving roles in communities. She adds that the development, while alarming, should not come as a surprise given persistent reports of pilferage within the Ministry of Health. She has expressed concern that despite repeated warnings and signs of systemic weaknesses, the government has shown a lack of agency in addressing these long-standing issues. NGOCC has since challenged government to inform the nation about its plan to mitigate the funding shortfall to avoid a collapse in the essential medical services.
The Non-Governmental Gender Organizations Coordinating Council, NGOCC, notes the U.S. Ambassador's announcement of the suspension of approximately 1.4 billion kwacha in medical aid to Zambia, citing extensive theft of medicines and the Zambian government's failure to effectively combat this situation. NGOCC asserts that this development should not shock Zambians, given the persistent reports of theft within the Ministry of Health, and we expressed our profound worry over the government's inadequate response to this serious misconduct. We emphasize that while Zambia must strive for greater self-reliance and urgently needs to strengthen its internal resource generation, what is equally important is that the government must address the known systemic weaknesses to prevent the ongoing thefts of essential medicines. The potential ramifications of this aid withdrawal are deeply concerning, particularly for vulnerable Zambians. Data from the Zambia Population-Based HIV Impact Assessment reveals a higher annual HIV prevalence among women at 11% compared to men at 8% for adults aged 15 and above. Therefore, the suspension of U.S. medical aid will foreseeably diminish the supply of vital HIV and TB drugs to vulnerable populations, with women facing a disproportionate impact as they represent the majority of both those living in poverty and those benefiting from health sector aid. Women will not only experience disruptions in their own essential treatment, but they will also be further burdened by increased caregiving responsibilities. Therefore, NGOCC urgently to ownership of this significant theft demonstrate a tangible commitment to eradicating both past and present corruption, and crucially, immediately inform the nation how they will bridge this critical funding gap to prevent devastating drug shortages and the potential loss of life.
We now go to the Copper Belt, where a 27-year-old man has been arrested for defacing and damaging a newly introduced 5-kwacha coin in Kitwe. The suspect, identified as Michael Tembo of house number 7770 in Chimwemwe Township, Kitwe, is alleged to have unlawfully separated the 2 layers of the coin and filmed himself doing the act. In the video, which was later posted on a Facebook page called Michael Z11, Tembo is heard making remarks implying that the coins were counterfeit, referring to them as gongers. Police Public Relations Officer Ray Hamonga says Mr. Tembo has been charged with the offense of willful defacing, soiling or damaging of a coin of the bank under section 67(1)(f) and 3B of the Bank of Zambia Act number 5 of 2022. The suspect has since been warned and cautioned and is currently detained at Kitwe Central Police Station as investigations continue to identify possible accomplices. Mr. Hamonga says such actions not only breach the law but also have the potential to incite public distrust in Zambia's financial system. He warned that damaging or defacing legal tender is a serious offense that will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The Zambia Police Service has since urged the public to respect the country's currency and refrain from acts that could undermine confidence in the financial economy. Human rights defender Ngande Mwanajiti has emphasized the need for Zambia to align its political aspirations with national priorities that genuinely serve the interests of its citizens. In an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Mwanajiti said public service must be guided by laws that facilitate rather than hinder effective service delivery. He stressed that civil servants should operate within a framework that supports national development and public welfare. He further called for the elimination of incompetency in the civil service, stating that only individuals who demonstrate a genuine commitment to national progress should hold government positions. Mr. Mwanajiti also highlighted the importance of identifying and addressing systemic gaps that affect service delivery. He has called for targeted investment in areas where the country is underperforming to improve efficiency and responsiveness. He further noted that Zambia must learn from past experiences and adopt proactive rather than reactive strategies in governance.
That we get to a point where we can align our political aspirations with the national imperatives. The Zambian government or the Zambian nation or Zambian people are served by the civil service. So the question that I ask you, and the question you must reflect on, how much investment have we done in our civil service to ensure effective delivery? Because I've heard statements like, you found us and you leave us. So are we saying that we are okay by some of our civil servants to hold us at ransom? The answer is no. Let's not play the game of garbage in, garbage out. The civil servants, we must invest in the civil service for effective delivery. How do we do that? Let's give them good laws, which laws do not stand in the way of delivery. For instance, I'll argue now and many times, some constituencies are just too big to be served by one MP. And there is no sound basis for anybody to say, no, we can't amend the constitution. We must do that to allow for effective delivery and effective participation. Now, once you've done that, when we do that, let's invest in ensuring that we root out incompetence wherever it shows its face in the civil service. The civil service is the engine of economic delivery. If we don't have an effective and efficient civil service, then we'll be talking to ourselves. When we talk about the corruption in the civil service, it's not every civil servant is corrupt, but there are some, because they have access. And that's the point which I'm making. If you don't have access, you cannot be corrupt, because you don't have that access. Yes, you may be corrupt in a different manner, but in as far as government property is concerned, the people who safeguard and who look after the welfare of the state are civil servants. So we have an interest in the welfare. We have an interest in ensuring that they are effective. They are properly trained to ensure that delivery reaches where it must reach. So, what must we do? We must identify what are our gaps. What gaps does Zambia face? And one of the same things which I would say, and which I think is a gap, is the levels of understanding.
The Zambia Air Force, ZAF, has launched an investigation into a viral incident in which its personnel were seen driving past a road traffic accident without rendering assistance. The incident occurred on 13th May 2025 along the Great East Road near Arcades Shopping Mall in Lusaka and involved a hit-and-run victim. In a statement availed to Camnet News, ZAF Director Public Relations and Foreign Liaison, Colonel Mutale Kasoma, acknowledged the video circulating on social media showing one of its vehicles failing to stop at the accident scene. He has described the conduct as deeply regrettable and not reflective of its core values of duty, compassion, and service to the nation. Colonel Kasoma has assured the public that the matter is being treated with the seriousness it deserves and that appropriate action will be taken following the outcome of the internal inquiry. He has expressed heartfelt sympathies to the victim and his family, reiterating that human life must always be treated with dignity and respect. He emphasized that such an incident should never happen again under the watch of the nation's defense forces. The Zambia Consumer Association ZACA has expressed concern over the growing number of unlabeled and potentially unsafe beverages being sold on the local market, warning of the serious risks they pose to the public health. ZACA Executive Secretary Juba Sakala highlighted that some of drinks that are not genuinely manufactured by licensed producers but are instead repackaged to appear legitimate and sold to unsuspecting consumers. Mr. Sakala urged regulatory authorities to investigate the origin, production methods, and safety standards of such products to ensure they meet the requirements for human consumption. He emphasized the urgent need for tighter enforcement of food safety and labeling laws to protect consumers from potentially harmful substances. ZACA has also advised the public to exercise caution and vigilance when purchasing beverages, urging them to check for proper labeling, certification, and approved packaging to safeguard their health.
Observed at the Zambia Consumer Association and received major complaints from various stakeholders and consumers. They also complained that there's so much happening in the food sector. The issue is we have seen people selling drinks packed in different packages, and some are fake, some are real. But what we've seen is these drinks that are in very bright colors, orange, green, and so on and so forth. We're wondering if ZABS and ZICSA have taken interest to look at it. We have seen that these could be fake drinks, or these are drinks which are not legalized, or they're manufactured but they're not licensed. So we are hoping that ZICSA, ZABS, and the Lusaka City Council, which is the Public Health Department, will take an interest and find out more about it. Let them do an investigation and find out whether these people who are making these are registered or they're just making them from homes, and how safe they are for the consumer to consume them, and if they're not a threat to the public health or the health of the consumer. And we've also seen that there are fake drinks. People are packaging some of the fake drinks in the recognized, drinks. When you open that, you find it's a fake drink, or it's not the drink that you were supposed to buy. It's just the cover that tells you, but inside there's a different issue. So we want all these issues to be looked at by the relevant authorities, that is ZICSA, ZABS, and Lusaka City Council Public Health Department.
Chongwe motorbike owners have been urged to register their business motorbikes with the Chongwe Municipal Council or face a penalty fee of 782 kwacha. The council has warned that enforcement against unregistered motorbike operators will soon be intensified. Chongwe Municipal Council Public Relations Officer Peter Sokwa says registration is a legal requirement under the Markets and Bus Stations Act of 2007 and is aimed at promoting order and safety in the district's transport sector. He says the registration is free of charge and enables the council to maintain accurate records of all commercial motorbikes operating in the area. He adds that since the registration exercise began in October 2024, only 37 motorbikes have been registered. The council has since stressed that unregistered bikes found operating illegally will be impounded and owners will only reclaim them after paying the 782 kwacha fine.
Before they start their transport business services, they have to register to Chongwe Municipal Council. Chongwe Municipal Council by law is mandated to carry out the task of registration of all motorbikes which are doing business of transport services in the district. And this is for the purpose of having data as to how much motorbikes we will have in the district. Therefore, we wish to advise all those who are involved in transport services, motorbikes, to come forth to Chongwe Municipal Council and register their motorbikes. We wish also to inform the general public that this registration process is free. But Chongwe Municipal Council will be getting 5 kwacha a day from each motor rider. Therefore, we wish to advise those who are doing piloting medicine that Chongwe Municipal Council don't tolerate. Therefore, our officers will classify all the piloting motorbikes in the district and impound them. And when they come to Chongwe Municipal Council, they will be required to pay a penalty fee of 782 kwacha in order to get their motorbike. I wish to stress a point also as Chongwe Municipal Council that all motor riders have got 2 places, places which Chongwe Municipal Council has created. One of the places is this place which is here at the Chongwe Municipal Council Fire Station, and the other one which is a temporary one. We created the temporary one.
You are still watching main news on Camnet TV, broadcasting live on Topstar Channel 106, Facebook, YouTube, and Kenstream app. We now take our first set of commercials, but do join us for more news when we come back. Stay tuned.
Potatoes, the unsung heroes of flavor. From crispy chips to creamy mash, potatoes are the versatile superstars of your kitchen. Grown with love by our dedicated workforce drawn from around the community of Palavana. Savenda Farm's commitment is to see to it that we have potatoes that are grown right, healthy, big and tasty. For that quick fix or big celebration or that meal that brings family together, top chefs rely on the Savenda potato to create culinary masterpieces. And for others, it's that icebreaker to a delightful conversation. So, embrace the magic of Savenda potatoes. They're not just a side dish, they're the heart and soul of your kitchen. Savenda, Save nations, develop Africa.
Get all the latest updates in court news only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those who have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Enjoy the benefits of an instant loan with us ranging from 1,000 kwacha to 750,000 kwacha paid express once collateral is viewed, valued and verified. Call us on 0763 595 359 or 0779 432 993. Classified Financial Express, here as your financial friend.
Thank you so much for still joining us. We continue with the main news. Government has suspended operations at the KAFUE raw water pump station in Chilabombwe following suspected water pollution in the KAFUE River. The Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation, in collaboration with Mulonga Water Supply and Sanitation Company, announced that the move is a precautionary measure aimed at safeguarding public health. Water Development and Sanitation Minister Collins Nzovu says the suspension follows the detection of unusual turbidity in the river's raw water, which raised concerns over possible contamination. He says preliminary tests conducted by the water utility company have been inconclusive, prompting further investigations in partnership with regulatory bodies and independent laboratories to establish the nature and source of the suspected pollution. Mr. Nzovu emphasized that government takes any threat to public health and environmental safety seriously, stating that a full investigation is underway and warned that any individuals or companies found responsible will be held accountable in line with the country's environmental and public health laws. The ministry has also issued a stern caution to the industrial players and other stakeholders against polluting natural water bodies, reminding them of the grave risks such actions pose to ecosystems and human life. The public has been urged to remain calm as authorities work to resolve the matter and ensure water safety in the affected area. In the meantime, Mulonga Water and Sanitation Company has switched to supplying water drawn from underground dewatering operations. We now go to Western Province, where child protection specialist Kawanga Poniso has called on the government and other stakeholders to uphold child rights. Mr. Kawanga was speaking this afternoon after the interaction meeting with different organizations in Mongo. Mr. Kawanga has called on youth to remain steadfast in pursuing higher education for them to attain greater economic transformation. He said the government has placed a girl-child education on top of its agenda to better their livelihood. And Mr. McFarlane Chisanga said child protection is crucial as it safeguards their well-being and development of children, preventing abuse, neglect, and exploitation. He further said that there is need to ensure children are safe and supportive, and a supportive environment is created in fulfilling their basic rights and promoting positive outcomes. He further called on some stakeholders in the country to raise awareness on the issues surrounding children's rights. Kabila Musiewo filed in this report.
Zambia child rights are protected by law, particularly through the Children's Code Act number 12 of 2022. This act outlines the key rights and responsibilities related to child care, protection and well-being, including parental responsibilities. The Children's Code Act also emphasizes the importance of the best interests of the child, the right to survival and development, and the prohibition of the discrimination. And child protection specialist Kawanga Poniso has called on government and other stakeholders in Mongo and the country at large to uphold child rights in society.
Life and Child in Zambia want to call upon main organizations out there that provide technical, skill or technical knowledge to CSOs around the country, that they appreciate and understand the provision of the law. How the law can be used to prevent, some of these abuse and things like that. So when you look at the Children's Code Act, it's quite a good piece of legislation that if, can fully be implemented, I think you can curb down on some of these abuses we see around. So really our advice that let's, take care of these special gifts, the children. Let's take care of them, let's protect them, let's support them in their growth. So to the government, I think let's provide the necessary resources. Let's support the Ministry of Government. Let's empower them with skills, with knowledge, with resources.
And Zambia Civic Education Association Child Protection Manager, McFarland Sanga, also attributed the need to protect the children.
We understand that under the NCRIF we have a mandate to raise awareness on the implementation of the Children's Code Act and also the initiatives that are aimed at protecting children in Zambia. They're human beings. The only difference is that they're still growing and they're vulnerable. So they ought to be respected because these are the leaders of tomorrow that we have. If children are downtrodden, their rights are not respected, they are vulnerable to all manner of abuse. No one can do this thing alone. It requires a concerted effort, enhanced collaboration amongst partners, bringing the expertise from various organizations. When we put them together, we create a net that is going to ensure that a child is safe at all levels.
Meanwhile, representing participant Murima Mayamba urged fellow youths across the country to respect elders.
I would advise my fellow youths or teenagers to know their human rights. While knowing them, should also know the responsibilities to them, not just acting. Just because we have human rights, to respect our parents, even though we have human rights, not to violate them, but to also respect them as they are helping us.
Musibu Kabila, Camnet News in Mongo District, Western Province.
Back to Lusaka, the capital city, where Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Gift Simunza Sialubalo, has urged local authorities to maximize revenue collection to enhance service delivery and drive development in their respective areas. Speaking during a meeting with mayors, council chairpersons, town clerks, and council secretaries in Lusaka, the minister emphasized that local revenue is a critical resource for effective governance and national progress. Mr. Sialubalo challenged the council leaders to remain proactive and diligent in their duties, warning against complacency and urging them to demonstrate accountability in how they manage government resources. He acknowledged the various concerns and challenges raised by the local government officials, but stressed that solutions must be anchored in improved revenue generation and prudent financial management. Meanwhile, Ministry's Permanent Secretary for Administration, Dr. Gabriel Pollen, echoed the minister's sentiments, emphasizing the need for councils to change the narrative surrounding the use of public funds. He called for timely and transparent utilization of resources once disbursed, adding that failure to do so would lead to the responsible officials being held accountable. The meeting aimed to strengthen collaboration and improve the performance of local authorities across the country.
The well-being of ourselves lies in our hands. I'll explain. The well-being of our lives lies in our hands. One, I'll give the Lusaka. The mayor of Lusaka is here. We have done our own assessment of Lusaka to say the 300 million that they make in a year does not reflect the real picture of how much Lusaka can make. Honestly, we was going to find a solution. So where is the problem? The problem is not with the mayor. The problem is in us together. What can we do so that the real picture of Lusaka in terms of revenue collection can be reflected? Those are the solutions that we need to know and get. And we are very honest to one another. Honorable, dear colleagues, I'll use my own mayor for Sinazongwe. I believe my mayor Sinazongwe can do better in terms of revenue collection. Looking at the resources, the mines that are being opened. So what are we doing in Sinazongwe to make sure that we maximize the revenue collection?
Dear colleagues, you might be privy to the public discourse around CDF, and in particular owing to the 2023 Auditor General's report that focuses primarily on the gaps in the implementation of CDF. Now, the Minister has requested this meeting in order for us to change together the narrative around local authorities, around CDF, in order to optimize and enhance the efficiency with which resources are utilized in the local authorities. We have received correspondence from the Ministry of Finance dated 19th April 2025, which indicated that over 405 million kwacha was sitting idly in local authority accounts. In 2022, 2023, and 2024, the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, in addition to the Ministry of Local Governmental Development, issued circulars to principal officers and local authorities, advising them that government is currently running on a zero-based balance.
You are still watching main news on Camnet TV, broadcasting live on Topstar Channel 106, Facebook, YouTube, and Kenstream app. We'll now take our final set of commercials. Do join us for international and sports news when we come back. Stay tuned.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Are you looking for a reliable and efficient courier company with international standards? Then let UBZ Courier, your trusted partner in swift and secure deliveries, be your ultimate choice. Whether it's a small package or a hefty consignment, UBZ Courier handles it all, locally and internationally. Our modern call center ensures personalized attention for every client. For seamless deliveries within Zambia and beyond, trust UBZ Courier. Call us now on +260-763-062-680 or visit us at plot number 15 Mwapona Road, Woodlands, Lusaka, Zambia. UBZ Courier, a world-class brand that can be trusted.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Television, not just another channel.
Thank you so much for still staying with us. And now in international news. The International Criminal Court, ICC, is facing unprecedented operational challenges following sanctions imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump in February against his chief prosecutor, Karim Khan. The measures have not only disrupted Khan's ability to perform basic professional functions, but have also sent shockwaves throughout the court's operations, undermining global efforts to pursue justice for victims of war crimes and crimes against humanity. Since the imposition of the sanctions, Khan has lost access to his official email, reportedly deactivated by Microsoft, and his bank accounts in the United Kingdom have been frozen. The sanctions also ban Khan and other non-American ICC personnel from entering the United States. For American staffers, including ICC prosecutor Eric Everson, the legal implications are just as dire. Attorneys have warned them they risk arrest should they return to the U.S., even for personal reasons. Everson has since filed a federal lawsuit challenging the sanctions, with his lawyer noting that he is unable to carry out basic lawyer functions. Here's a roundup of international stories.
The sanctions have especially hit the court's chief prosecutor Karim Khan, who has lost access to his email and had his bank accounts frozen. President Donald Trump sanctioned the court after a panel of ICC judges in November issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defense chief on suspicion of committing war crimes in Gaza. The sanctions threaten companies and individuals with prison time and fines if they maintain business or financial links with the ICC prosecutor. As a result, contractors and non-government organizations have cut contact with the court, severely affecting its work. The ICC relies on NGOs to gather evidence and find witnesses for its investigations.
No justification.
Venezuelan officials celebrated the return of 2-year-old Michaelis Espinosa on Wednesday after the toddler was separated from her deported parents and held in U.S. custody, a case that has fueled sharp criticism from Caracas toward Washington. The girl's mother had returned to Venezuela days earlier, arriving alone. We stand beside Venezuelan mothers who had their children stolen and kidnapped from them. They deliver them to what they call foster homes, which is no other than the commercialization of human beings. They see the human being as merchandise. A father, meanwhile, was deported to...
The goal was to meet Vladimir Putin personally for talks. But on Thursday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was the only one of the two presidents to arrive in Turkey for ceasefire negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. The Ukrainian leader had challenged his Russian counterpart to a direct meeting over the weekend. Ukraine and its allies had also asked that Russia accept an unconditional 30-day a proposal immediately rejected by Moscow. But while the Kremlin released images of Putin meeting with top Russian officials to prepare for negotiations with Ukraine, the Russian president has shown no signs of attending the talks in person. The Kremlin said its delegation at the talks will be led by Putin's aide and include 3 other officials. Meanwhile, Ukraine's presidential advisor said Zelensky will only sit down with Putin himself.
And finally, in sports news this evening, veteran striker James Chamanga is set for a final bout with Red Arrows. Chamanga is set to make his final appearance for Red Arrows this Saturday when the team takes on Zanaco in the closing fixture of MTN Super League season. To honor his illustrious career, Red Arrows have planned a special tribute during the match to celebrate his significant contributions to both club and country. Chamanga, 45, was instrumental in Zambia's historic 2012 Africa Cup of Nations victory and has enjoyed a highly successful stint with Red Arrows, winning 2 league titles with the Zambia Air Force sponsored side. His football journey began in 2000 with Makumbi Stars in Mutendere before moving to play for clubs such as City of Lusaka, Zanaco, Bushbucks, Moroka Swallows, and Chinese side Dalian Shid. He returned to Zambia in 2019 to join Red Arrows, where he went on to win 2 Super League titles, 2 Charity Shields, and an Absa Cup. Chamanga also clinched the MTN Super League Golden Boot in the 2019-2020 season, scoring 16 goals at the age of 40, a feat that highlighted his enduring skill and determination. With a professional career spanning 25 years, Chamanga's retirement marks the end of an era in Zambian football. His legacy as a dependable goal scorer and inspiring leader will remain etched in the history of the sport. And that particular sports item brings us to the end of this edition of Main News on Camnet TV. But before we go, we take a look at the top stories. KITWE man arrested for defacing newly introduced 5-kwacha coin. Socialist Party accuses President HICHILEMA of shielding high-level officials amid U.S. aid withdrawal. Government suspends operations at KAFUE water station over suspected pollution. ICC struggles to function as U.S. sanctions disrupt prosecutors' work and undermine global justice. Veteran striker James Chamanga set for final bout with Red Arrows. We now look at the Camnet verse for the day, coming from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9 and verse 11. It reads, I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happens to them all. That ends the reading, and that ends the main news on Camnet TV. But dear viewer, like always, do remember that Camnet TV is not just another channel. Now broadcasting on Topstar Channel 106, Facebook and YouTube, as well as the KenStream app. On behalf of my director and the entire production team, I'm Tapelo Joe Smata. Good evening and God bless.
coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News.